Your 90 seconds starts now.
So yeah, my name is Luke, or Takio, as some of you might know me as. Representation has taken a massive leap forward over the last 2 years since I've been here at BG. Year on year, we've seen a massive increase in student engagement, and the student voice is being captured at all levels in the university. I've experienced this firsthand, being on the exec and being involved with the University Senate, and then this year being the current student member of the University Council. So we're really seeing that voice captured from like the lowest level at programme level to the highest level possible at council. So yeah, I really want to be the person to continue on this positive development and really take it to the next level. During my time here, I have basically lived for representation. For those of you who know me, I'm constantly attending meetings. I've been involved with the recent higher education review, which I'm not allowed to say much about. The result was really positive though, and my role in formulating the new Shining New Student Charter. Working with students and academics from various courses has given me a good understanding of how the student body as a whole feels about different academic issues. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot that BG does that need to improve on, but there are also many positive good practice that need to be shared amongst academics. Electing me as BGSU's next Vice President Education will ensure that representation here has a friendly, approachable and professional face.
90 seconds starting now.
So, hello. I'm a drama and community student and current welfare officer on the SU. I believe I should be elected as your VP of Education. We as students are paying between £8,000 and £9,000 a year to be able to study. We are paying for a service. If that service isn't met in the correct standards, it's my mission to be there for the students, so you know what support is there for you. So what do I mean by that? An example. Across all courses, you have different tutors for modules. The communication between staff and what they are expecting from you seems to be muddled. One lecturer will say to you you're on the right lines and to carry on. Yet when you talk to the next lecturer, they say not to focus on that and that won't get you your pass. How can one lecturer say one thing and a different lecturer say another when it's not the same module? It's confusing. I plan to introduce staff development sessions before assignment briefs are signed off. This way, staff from each course can sit down and talk about what they expect from that module. Communication between the staff is essential for the students. If elected, I plan on introducing a senior rep system. For example, after being a course rep for a year, 2 reps per school would be elected through council to represent their school, thus creating 6 senior reps. These reps would sit in a hub with a VP and postgrad officer. By offering the reps incentives, it gives people encouragement to actively gain feedback from their fellow course students. I hope I've managed to prove to you that I'm passionate and a serious candidate for this role.
I think, in my personal opinion, one of the issues that sometimes arises is not necessarily with the academic affairs of the university, but sometimes with students, like, you're both incredibly knowledgeable on what's going on with academic affairs, and sometimes we actually understand, like referring back to especially our first student council of this academic year, where this policy update, the policy that you were trying to put across, and everyone was just sort of like, I read it, and even the people who read it were kind of like, you know, I don't understand. How do you kind of intend to combat that and to make all this technical jargon, if you will, more accessible?
Okay, we'll go to Taco first.
So yeah, unfortunately, higher education is a sector that is quite jargon-based. There's a lot of acronym stuff. I think my aim is, like, since I've been so involved, I think I'm able to sort of condense it and really just sort of try and simplify it for students, especially as part of the VP education role is to be at a port of call for students with academic issues. I really need to be there and to kind of simplify that information when it comes to me with a query on how can they, say for example, how can they put an appeal in for an assignment or make a complaint or anything like that, really. So I need to be able to simplify that with the code of practice and regulations.
Okay, we'll go to Shannon next.
Yeah, so when I was deciding whether or not I should bring this, like, I was trying to read through like the bylaws and the policies of the uni, and I was reading it like, oh my god, like what the hell is this? But I actually spoke to Gareth and Jamie, who was the last VP, and when it comes to July, there will be such a good turnover. Like, you'll be a month shadowing like the current SABs, that they can help condense it for you and help you understand it. And then another thing, especially like with something that Jamie did when I was in first year, he did like an education week, which was like campaigning. So he put like whiteboards, you know, like the ones in the library at the minute where people like are writing on it all the time. He put whiteboards all around like the campus and was like, there'd be like a question on it like, do you know how to get your work remarked? And like people would write their answers and stuff, and then the next day he would put like the actual answers. But from talking to students like just in the past week, hardly anyone actually knows how you get things like reassessed or if you want to appeal anything. And the union actually has, because now it's a charity, they can actually take a stance. Like if you come with a complaint, like we can stand there and we're not affiliated with the union as such because of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go to Lewis next.
Shannon briefly highlighted difficulties between lecturers communicating with each other and sending that to students. How do you actually, as candidates, aim to avoid that from occurring?
We'll start with Shannon this time. Sorry.
Yeah, so there's actually something when like researching into it, it's crazy. The QAA, which is like the Ofsted for unis, the SLT, like the senior leadership team, have like given like a standardised marking grid that apparently across all courses you're meant to use when like marking coursework. Like a lot of people will say, oh, I don't want to get this person to mark my work because he's a harsh marker. But that shouldn't be a thing because all lecturers are meant to use a standardised marking grid. Yet when I asked to see one from Gareth and Jamie, they've never seen it before. When I spoke to like 3 heads of courses, they've never seen it before. So a way of actually combating that would be, because there's 3 schools now, you have the 3 schools, so then you'd get them who are like the bosses of your lecturers as such. If you get them to reinforce the fact of actually using a standardised marking grid and the senior leadership team like forcing it in as well, it doesn't just mean that your work's actually going to be marked correctly, it means that like, you know, in leadership boards of our uni, it means that that can go up as well because you're actually using a grid that other universities are using. But yeah, so that's something that I like 100% want to, if elected, to do.
Okay, we'll go to Tyler next.
I think, yeah, like Shannon said, with the whole with the relationship between the 3 schools, with social science, humanities, and teacher development, you've also got CELT, which is the Centre of Education and Learning and Teaching, Centre of Excellence for Learning and Teaching, and they're the ones that sort of share the practice amongst the academics. So really, like I said in my speech, I really want to make sure that the pockets of good practice and the practices that are being expressed in some courses are really being transferred amongst the academics from different schools. The only problem is that TD, teacher development, use a different kind of format in the way that they run their courses, just because of their like regulation requirements.
Okay, we'll go to Colin next.
This is for both of you. On a day-to-day basis, without requiring any specific support or anything, what sort of impacts or differences would a normal student see from what we've got now to what you would hopefully implement?
Okay, we'll go to Tyler.
So you're asking what changes we've seen already, just as students?
If you were to be elected and you were to make your changes,
yeah,
what would we see as a student change from a day-to-day basis?
So yeah, basically, not massive changes not massive changes can be made on a day-to-day basis, just because of the way that the courses are validated and they go through processes and quality assurance stuff. But I know for a fact from module evaluations and stuff that students see that. I mean, one of my policies is I want to at least have a discussion with the university about using lecture capture. So recording lectures and putting them on Blackboard. I think that's something that I'd love to see change. It might not happen next year. It might take a few years. But it's something that I really want to push with, because that could be seriously useful as a learning tool with accessibility and stuff.
Okay, we'll go to Shannon next.
Yeah, so because like higher education can be, like when you're trying to explain it to students, it can be really, really confusing. It's building on the trying to make campaigns as such for it, like more interested and engaging for students, so that they actually understand their rights. So building on what Jamie did, like having an education week, trying to do that like quite regularly. So then having like things around campus that students can constantly see, and trying to include the postgrad and master students into that and get their feedback, because sometimes I think they can be left out quite a lot, if that makes sense.
Okay. Can I quickly ask the candidates just make their answers as concise as possible, just so we can get as many questions in, if that's okay? Thank you. Yeah, Alex, you said my question was answered by Liz. Oh, okay, right, we'll move on to Andy.
Okay, last year I put a complaint in to the VP at the time. When I looked into it afterwards, it turned out that a similar complaint for the same module, if that makes sense, had been risen, which made me realise that the issue hadn't actually been tackled efficiently that previous year, that carried on to my third year. And then after that, I felt out of the loop because I didn't actually get up to date. What would you do to ensure that issues like those never, don't occur as often?
Okay, we'll go to Shannon first.
Yeah, okay. So another thing that I think would be really beneficial for students is having like a student forum once a month where you can come along and discuss like any course issues going on within the courses. So with that, you can get senior leadership teams or course heads to actually be there and answer the questions. But that's awful what happened, because it's meant to go through a system. So you're meant to talk to your like course leader. If you don't feel comfortable talking to your course leader, it's meant to go to like the head of like that bit, and then to like if that doesn't work, then it should be an official complaint that goes in and it'd be investigated from outside. So the fact that that wasn't followed up on is something that like I would never do, because I get so angry. Like I put in complaints and stuff before and made sure and followed up on the fact that they're going on. So that's something that I, from experience, actually really care about. So wouldn't let it happen to anyone.
Okay, it's okay.
Yeah, so I think it's about using the reps more effectively. The reps should be feeding back feedback to me as if I was to be elected, and using them more effectively is basically the way to kind of resolve that. But also the Vice President has recently taken over the role of advocacy, which basically means that they'll be able to represent students that put the to the university, so they'll actually be able to see what the result of that particular complaint was.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read the recent Ofsted report, but there's a paragraph regarding the placement allocation time about students need to know their placement a lot more in advance than they currently are now. How will you tackle that problem, and how will you monitor other recommendations within the Ofsted report?
Okay, we'll go stack up first.
So yeah, this was also picked up in the recent higher education, like the course leaders on primary ed and with the PGC cohorts, to really make sure and track that progress and make sure that is happening okay, because I don't know what impact that will have and what impact the centralising of placements will have yet.
Yeah, Shannon.
Yeah, so it goes back to student development programmes. If student staff development programmes, if staff are regularly talking to each other and saying, right, this is coming up, we need to allocate this, it means that, because a lot of stuff, like I don't know if you've looked at assignment briefs and stuff, assignment briefs don't always get changed for that year. All they'll change on it is like the year dates, so like 2014 to 2015, which is absolutely disgusting because we're all paying so much money and they can't even bother to change an assignment brief. So it is going back to staff need to constantly be in talks with each other for us. But yeah.
Okay, we're going to Adam next.
Yeah, Taco. We've looked at filming lectures before, and I think that there seems to be an issue with most tutors that they do not want their craft filming because that is something that is unique to them and it is a unique experience. And for that to go online is like them selling their skills and receiving no money. How would you tackle that perception?
I think for a start, the lectures would only go on Blackboard, so they'd only be accessible for students that are currently.
And what if students then put that on YouTube?
I would have to ensure that there'd be some sort of protocol in place that would prevent that doing such things. Because, but yeah, in terms of just that in general, it's about the university nailing down the attendance policy, because obviously. But I think the lecture capture thing could be a massively beneficial tool for learning accessibility for students with learning disabilities who might not be able to keep up with lectures and stuff. So.
Okay, we're going to Riley.
Taco, sometimes the problem is that with things like, you mentioned course reps feeding back to you more. I think sometimes the problem is that sometimes course reps are perhaps unreliable, or people don't actually know who their course reps are.
Yeah.
How would you combat that? How would you tackle that?
So it's really down to better rep training. Really, it's about making sure they know where to go, how to collect feedback from their courses, and the way that feedback has been collected has been more formalised. But now you've got the introduction of the school rep forums where the students go and talk to their academics. There's now actually a standardised form that the reps there have to complete, and that gets sent back from the academic coordinator for that course. That's with all the reps from that courses from first to third year, and that actually gets emailed back to the VP, and then the feedback is sort of come back from there. So we're trying to engage. It's about training of reps there and working with the academics to make sure that they are working with their course reps as well.
Can I jump in for a second? So there's a TACO system that's been put in which stands for Teacher Assessments, Resources, Careers and Opportunities. And this is like the form that student reps are meant to fill in. But something that I think would be awesome, so like the TACO system basically is the student reps it's meant to be like away from like offices and stuff like that, sit with your lecturer or course leader, and the course leader kind of leads it, and they ask like the teacher like, what did you think of like the module overview, for example, and like it's meant to be like that. But what I thought would be awesome if I did get elected would be, rather than just having the student rep read that back, it could be something that the whole course kind of work on together with their lecturer, so then it's not just one student rep, or it would be across all 3 years, so like 3 student reps working on that. It would be all of the classes, so everyone gets to say whether you want to talk to that course rep or not. Like everyone gets to do it, so it can be regularly done throughout assessments, because then you can get feedback which goes straight back to the VP, and then they can assess, right, okay, so they've said this, they said this, and then in staff development programmes, if I do get elected, we can bring that to the staff and say, well, they've said this about the module, how about next time you're sorting out an assignment?
Sorry, Shannon, we're going to cut you off there.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you, round of applause for everyone.